Oh, hey you Jude, how you going? What was this idiot thinking? Oh wait, it's me. You know, it's very easy on YouTube and social media to make yourself look really good. It's human nature not to want to show things going wrong and bad decisions being made. I think with aviation, it's critical to be really honest with yourself about what mistakes you're making and what you're not doing as well as you could be. It's also critical to share your mistakes so that others can learn from them. And that's what we're aiming to do today. So let's run through what happened. The flight didn't start off that well. We had a near miss with another tow combination of glider and tow plane and had to take evasive action. So that got me a bit rattled from the start. We had a good run up onto the ridges, and then I ran down the ridges and managed to almost not stop, needing to take a couple of climbs along the way just to maintain height. But it was a pretty good run. Got some stunning views of the ocean down the South Wairarapa coast, just over the hill from Wellington. On the way back north, we didn't quite stop and climb as we should have, and I ended up getting a bit low as I went along the ridges. But I was quite keen to not stop moving and keep the speed up. Eventually got to where I wanted to leave the ridge, but I was only 1,500 feet. And this was the first big mistake, is leaving the ridge when I was way too low. There was quite a big wind to push into on the way home. There were some clouds on the way home, and I was expecting to get some lift as I went underneath them, but it never happened. As I got closer to the airfield, I could see I was going to make it, but it was getting pretty skinny. The gliders were landing on the other runway, which was a slight issue because that runway crosses over the middle of the runway that I was lined up for and aiming for. I was also getting too low, so I had to make some quick decisions, and the options started running out pretty quick. There's an upper part of the runway which I did eventually land on, but what I didn't realise, I could have landed downhill, as it were. It's actually quite flat at the top, and I thought the slope was enough that I needed to come and approach from the southern downwind end. In reality, I could have landed up the top quite happily. So I ended up doing a downwind onto what they call the upper terrace. A more subtle mistake, and that was flying directly over trees into wind. And the reason for that is, in the lee of a line of trees, you often get quite a lot of turbulence and sink. And there's been a lot of pilots have come unstuck ploughing into the trees because they thought they were going to clear the trees, they get hit by the sink, down they go. Keeping the speed up all the way around, even low level to the ground, and on the landing we were 60 knots the whole way around, which is quite important when you get into the more turbulent conditions down low. As I turned on to finals, the wind actually helped push me a bit further past the centre line than I was expecting. So what were the main mistakes I made here? The first was leaving the ridge way too early. I should have stopped, climbed, and made sure I had enough height to get back safely. So I wasn't familiar enough with the airfield. I didn't realise we could land downhill, as it were, although it was rather flat. I didn't realise that was an option on the terrace. And after talking to the guys later, I learned that that's quite a common thing to do, is land straight in on that runway. I also could have landed in a field on the way to the airfield. Once I realised I was getting too low and it was going to be too skinny, I should have just done a nice circuit while I had the height into a paddock. So what are the key lessons learned from this incident? If you do things like this often, eventually one of these things will leap out and get you properly. Could have easily gone badly, could have easily hit just a bit more sink, clipped a tree or a fence. If you do this sort of thing often, eventually something will get you. I think the other big lesson is mistakes are often made much earlier than the actual incident. In this case, I left the ridge too early. I could have dealt with the situation much earlier and not put myself in the situation where I ran out of options. My biggest piece of advice is deal with these things as early as possible so you have more options. So this incident actually made me really think about my flying a bit. I've had a few instances this season where I've let myself get too low and start running out of options. And so that's one of the main things I'm trying to focus on, and I did focus on for the rest of the season, was deal with these things early. If I'm going to use my motor, use it early and stop letting myself get into tricky situations where I have to make a video about them. Alright, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll catch you next time. And remember, don't crash.